We talk a lot about expectations versus reality on the show. I believe we've done a couple where we'd go like one team, how did they perform in a certain season and compare it to what the reality was? I've seen other podcasts do it. I enjoy doing it just because it brings a certain perspective on how things went. And when hindsight is 2020, you're able to more accurately predict things and you're more able to say, hey, maybe this should have happened or maybe this play should have been run. So many times I look at the Chargers as one of those expectations versus reality where they have all the pieces, but sometimes it just doesn't come together. And that takes me to the 2021 Clemson Tigers, one of the most contentious 10-3 seasons that I've ever seen for any college football program, not even Alabama. And while I'm more in the Clemson community, I mean, you guys can see on my social media, I work for Clemson Media. So I see a lot more things within that community than I would in an Alabama, a Michigan. So I don't know how contentious it gets in Ann Arbor or how contentious it gets in Tuscaloosa. But let me tell you, Clemson, South Carolina was a hot spot for controversy in 2021. That fall season was filled with injuries, inconsistency, lineup inconsistency. Anything that you maybe could have said could have gone wrong, it went wrong last year. There was a lot of things that happened. So when you look back for 6 games through 2021 season, Clemson was 4-2, and this year they are 6-0. And what is the center of all of that when you talk about Clemson? Well, it's the quarterback, DJ Uiagalelei. Let's talk about him. The video is titled "Why His Turnaround is One of the Great Stories This Year in College Football." We always have something. We always have something to be inspired about, something to look forward to. And I think this year, more than anybody, he has deserved what has come to him, and it's been incredible to see. So last year, through 4 games, he had, I believe, 3 touchdowns and 3 picks. Or 6 games, 3 touchdowns, it was 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. This year, DJ is at a 64.2 completion percentage, 1,462 yards, 14 touchdowns, and only 2 picks, with 324 yards on the ground with 3 scores, and a quarterback rating of 151.1, excuse me. And in 2021, DJ finished with a 55.6 completion percentage, 9 touchdowns, 10 picks, and a quarterback rating of 108.7. So you can see across the board that the changes that he has not only put into this game, but also just this change in the stats are phenomenal for him. 14 touchdowns already through the air, beating his season total, on pace for probably less than 10 interceptions, I would say, and a completion percentage that's nearly 10 points higher than it was last year through 6 games. Because when I started thinking about doing this topic, especially on this podcast, I didn't want to do it too early, but I also didn't want to do it too late. Clemson's at the point where 6-0. They've established that they're one of the top programs in the country once again, vying for a playoff spot. But if you do it too late, the narrative's kind of already there. It's been established and it's been beaten like a dead horse. It has to an extent, but I think for my purposes of the show, I wanted to talk about it and bring light to my audience that I will admit last year I was a little harsh on Clemson. I was not super high on them. I did believe that 10-3 was considered a disappointment, even though for a lot of programs, that's a high accomplishment to be able to finish in the top 15 in the AP poll, be able to finish 10 wins, win your bowl game, beat your rival at the end of the season, beat them like a drum with a 30-point victory over the Gamecocks. So there was a lot of good things that happened that were overshadowed by expectations. And I fell right into that. I remember right on the way to the Georgia game, me and my buddies were making predictions. How was the first touchdown for Clemson going to be scored? Little did we know there would not be a touchdown scored for Clemson that day. The only touchdown that game was a DJ Uiagalelei pick six. But more on DJ and just the turnaround. So being able to talk to him this summer, being able to talk to him during the fall, there's so many things that are notable. He works his tail off. He has lost a lot of weight, which has helped him in that run game. He's healthy, which is another thing. And he told me in the summer in Charlotte, I was at ACC kickoff. He said that I have a new appreciation for winning following last year because he wasn't used to that kind of hardship when it came to football. A lot of things came easy for DJ. And so when you go to this season, it's evident. And there was still a lot of question marks going into the season. How is the quarterback going to perform? Now he has Cade Klubnik behind his back, ready to take the spot should he slip up. And the leash, I felt, was tight. Not anymore. I think DJ's earned a lot of staying power. I think if he continues to play like this, he's going to play his way into the NFL. I got a couple things. I didn't want to. You may not consider him as your Heisman candidate, but he's got a heck of a story. He's experienced the highest of highs, freshman hype coming in for Trevor Lawrence against Boston College, ironically, and Notre Dame, throwing for nearly 1,000 yards in 2 games and put the country on notice. Everybody was ready for DJ, this to be his team. And when it came crashing down, everybody, all the hype turned like a snap of a finger. Hype turned into hate. And it was tough to see because you will see this guy on campus and he's not a bad guy by any means. It's just that the team, it wasn't clicking. Nothing was coming together. So when you have this season and you've seen what he's improved on, you've seen that he's making big plays, fantastic reads. We've seen him win a game for Clemson and we've seen him keep him in it. We've seen the game manager. We've seen the prolific passer. We've seen the rushing ability. Everything's come together. And I know that a lot of this is pro Clemson positive, but when you look from an outside perspective, and I know that there's going to be a lot of bias potentially surrounded by this, but I personally believe this is one of the better stories in college football this year, just because not many players go through what he's gone through in terms of just the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows. And it feels like he's finally found that balance of where he's playing where like everyone kind of expected him to, but keeping those expectations, and kind of the hype is only surfacing, but it's not crazy. It's not being overdone, if that makes sense. But I personally, I don't think he'll be a Heisman finalist, but I think he should certainly be considered for a spot just because you got a great story. He's ranked in a lot of top categories for stats this year, and he's got Clemson right back in the playoff conversation. There's a lot to be happy about. If you've been sticking by him since the beginning, or you've just hopped on the wagon, this is a story to get behind if you're a Clemson fan or a college football fan. I am enjoying it, and I think you guys should too. So, and that's my case for DJ. At least not as a Heisman candidate, but as a story. And I love it, and I cannot wait to see what Clemson does for the rest of the year, especially because I cover it as a job and just as a national storyline. So I'm going to take a short break, and when I return, we're going to talk buy or sell with NFL backup quarterbacks. Thank you guys as always. We'll be right back.